to the 30th anniversary of the Arnold Classic and the Arnold Sports Festival. We're here in Columbus, Ohio, all weekend long, talking to a wide variety of professional athletes and sponsors and partners and attendees, and just giving us a real nice overview of what we do here in Columbus, Ohio. Again, 75 different sports and events, 22,000 athletes, 200 attendees over 4 days. We're joined on this episode of the Arnold Sports Festival Power Podcast, as always, by my host, Dr. Bill Kramer, and Steve Cardillo of Cardillo Weight Belts, who has been a part of this event for 25 years. Steve, tell us a little bit about your company and the weight belts that not only you create and sell, but also present to Arnold Classic champions.
Yes, well, 32 years ago, I came up with an idea to create a more comfortable powerlifting belt. Through that, led into the more bodybuilding belts, and from that point on, I was making belts for all of the professional athletes, bodybuilders throughout the world. Obviously wanted to partner up with the Arnold Classic. To me, it's the #1 bodybuilding show in the world. You know, even lateral to the Olympia, it's still, I think, the best. So with that being said, I wanted to get involved. I made belts for all of the athletes who have ever won for the past 30 years. I made some belts for Arnold. I've made them for almost everyone, The Rock. But I wanted to, I do 2 shows a year, all one, and it's always the Arnold Classic.
How did you get into starting making belts? Was it out of necessity? Was it something you weren't happy with the product on the market and you wanted something, you said, comfortable?
Yes, well, I competed in powerlifting back in the 80s, won the drug-free nationals. So I figured, I was always I wanted my belt to be comfortable. The belts years ago were very rigid and stiff, uncomfortable. You get out for the deadlift, you pinch your hips and your ribs. Just uncomfortable. So I approached the best manufacturing of leather goods in the world, in business 100 years, partnered up with them to produce the most comfortable weight belt in the world, and now it's #1 in the world.
So for the layman out there, Dr. Kramer, you can help with this. You see a lot of power lifters, a lot of lifters wearing belts. What's the advantage? What's it do for you in a layman's term?
Well, I think we also, having been a lifter, you know, I agree with you. The belts used to be big leather, and they used to be very uncomfortable, and they weren't very flexible either. The key thing for a belt is what really happened. Many people wore it the incorrect manner. The belt was typically very, very big in the back and very small in the front. And what happened with this evolution now, you see it's pretty equidistant along the way. And realistically, the support that the belt really gives you is more of the front of the body than it is the back of the body. Because when you lift, you're pushing all your pressure out through your abdominal area and in the whole thoracic cavity above, but it ends up ending up right around the abdominal pressures here. So realistically, you're pushing your abdominal muscles, and all the pressures are going forward. You like a belt with equidistance in the front as it is in the back. So I think for the most part, the belt is another piece of the typical gym wear that we see, because of the fact that it does provide some support for equating the abdominal pressure, allowing it to work and keep the back actually in good position. That's really what it's about. Keeping the pressures, keep the spine in its proper magnetic curve in proper position. That's the key thing about a belt. And again, we were just kidding before, if you really wanted the ultimate belt, you would put a metal plate in front of your whole abdominal cavity, but that's something that is a little bit fantasized about. But the bottom line is, this is the type belt that has different widths. And now all the powerlifting and different organizations, they've given widths of the belts that you can make. Yes. So, you know, you can only, there's only so big they can be. Yes. But the idea, it's got to be comfortable and it's got to fit kind of equidistance, and I think the days of the big belt in the back and the little belt in the front are gone. So that's right.
In lifting, it's the most personal thing that you wear. Mm-hmm. I get stories of people jumping in their car when it's on fire. If anything gets stolen, the belt is what they're looking for. They don't care what gets stolen, because it's like a baseball glove. Yeah. Once you break that glove in, it's personable, it's yours, you do anything to save it, and that's what happens really with the weight belt. You can change your sneakers, your t-shirt, but the weight belt, once it breaks in, once it's yours, right. My belts are guaranteed for life. It's the only way it's going to go is if someone steals it.
Yeah. Now, when you started making the belts, what did you do to make it more comfortable for you?
Just used higher quality leather. understood that I wanted it to break in quicker with the old mindset of being stiff and rigid. As a lifter, you know, I didn't want that. I didn't want to come home with bruises every time I went down to do a deadlift. I wanted to be comfortable. So originally I made it with a little contour in it, made it more comfortable. That's how it all really began. But comfortability, like a baseball glove, that's really how it went. Just for comfortability.
I agree. I mean, I think the belt for people who do lift, it's like you couldn't even go into a workout without your belt. It'd feel like you're undressed.
Yes.
You know, that type of thing. And I think having the belt properly fitted. And then one other thing, too, that people don't realize with the belt is that you don't need to cinch it tight through the whole process.
Correct.
That increases blood pressure and everything else. So the only time you're cinching it tight is when you're doing the lift, and then you uncinch it.
Exactly.
So I think understanding how to use the belt is so important as well, because a lot of people think they've got to be cinched tight through the entire workout. Not so. You got to know how to use the belt properly.
You don't want to use it as a crutch. You want to use it to help prevent injury. So you strengthen your core. Your lightest set, you really don't need it. As the weight escalates, you tighten and tighten as you go for the max set. But you want to strengthen your core. So this is just a supplementation to preventing injury, not a crutch.
Are there different belts for different? Is a powerlifting belt different than the size, and is it mandated by rules, that sort of thing?
The powerlifting belt is 4 inches completely all the way around. Like the doctor said, really the support comes to the front. The old days, he would say you would take a 4-inch, taper the 2.5, turn it around, and you have the 2.5 in the back with the 4 in the front. You know, you look like a nut job, but that's correct, right?
That is correct.
Okay,
that is correct.
So now you go to the 4-inch all the way around, squatting, deadlifting. The reason why the bodybuilders use the training belt, which is 4 inches to 2.5, is because they're using it for more things, low rows, things.
4 inches in the back, down to 2.5 in the front.
Yes, so you get more, you can lean over more. You're still getting that 2.5-inch support, but it's giving you more all-around usability. Where if you're going for squat, deadlifts, the power belt is by far. You go up, you go from no belt to a power belt. It's 30 pounds on your lift right out of the gate.
Yeah, I want to emphasize what he said. It's really important. Is that how you use the belt for different loads and different exercises is really important, and that's again, the wide powerlifting belt's not going to work in a bodybuilding exercise because you're torqued around at different angles. And I think the key thing is you don't need to cinch it up the same way. Usually the belt is when you're getting up into the heavier loads, especially in powerlifting, but even in bodybuilding, you don't have to use it as a cinch together, which I see the biggest mistake by novices. You can tell an expert lifter in the gym by how they use their belt. You can automatically know what they're doing or not. It's really obvious.
Yeah. You got to work for me.
Yeah.
He's good. He got it all.
Yep.
Perfect. Exactly.
So Steve, you're a power lifter?
Yes.
How long did you compete for? Where did you compete at? And
well, I started in. I was very good in hockey. Almost made it to the next level. Went to college, wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't really where I wanted to go, what I want to do. So I've always trained, flipped over to powerlifting, became the #1 powerlifter school, the only guy. Went to the Collegiate Nationals twice. I was one place away from All-American after my second year. So I obtained elite status at 181. Just enjoyed lifting and the whole 9 yards. So now taking lifting, now the good thing was I integrated into my business. So I don't work anymore. I just
make belts,
train, make belts, and enjoy this.
So you have a factory, or how?
My factory in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
My partners. It's a big, like I said, it's been over 100 years in business making industrial linesman equipment.
Okay.
So they know all the leathers, all the goods. I want to approach someone who made the best. I went to them. Come up with a partnership. Then I got, after 5 years in the business, I landed a deal with Reebok International. They came after me, so it was a big thing where I made the Reebok pump belt. It was more comfortable. It had a pump mechanism in it. It was really when Reebok was at its peak. But at the time, retail were a plain leather weight belt. They weren't really ready for a $100 belt. So it went really well. It was great, but I found it was better that I was more recognized for Cardillo weight belts because at that time I had Michael Jordan wearing the belt. I mean, there was a lot of key people, even 5 years in the business, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage. So it was even more advantageous for me to do my own than to keep with the Reebok deal.
Yeah, got it. And how has the business grown? I mean, can I ask how many belts you sell a year? Or is it,
it's like it styles. What's happening is since social media, 90% of my business were men. Now, business is doubled because I picked up 50% of the 40% more women,
Yep.
almost making it 60-40. So doing nothing just by social media or all the women seeing the weight belts, and they want, the good thing about women is they want different colors, different shapes. They're better customers than men.
Bling them up a little bit?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So it worked out great. I'm at the point where I cannot produce anymore. I want to keep it that way so I can, there's a 16-week waiting time for a custom belt. I want to be able to service my customers, keep the brand where it belongs.
You got to maintain quality over
Yes,
quantity.
yes, and not be greedy, keep it into the States, and be happy with what I have.
And how's coming to having a booth and some presence at the Arnold Sports Festival? Obviously, you award winners to the amateurs and the pros on the stage and all that, but you also have a booth inside the expo
Yes.
where you get to mingle with folks
Yes,
and market
it's
the product.
Basically, you know, all of the athletes that I make with, it's a chance for me to say hello
Sure.
and size them up for something new, and just, you know, you have to be, you want to be, you got to be there.
So you're making these things custom for a lot of guys?
Yeah,
I mean,
everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, every top winner, every weight class has a Cardillo weight belt.
I know I've had a belt for 50 years. I better maybe invest in a new one.
Oh, I got one for you. Absolutely.
what's
Every
broken in though? Yeah.
Every Olympia since '96 wears my belt. Every one of them. Ronnie Coleman, Dorian Yates, when he was with another company, wore my belt.
So you started in this industry as a fan.
Yes.
What's it like now, 25 years later?
32.
32 years later, being the premier belt maker in the industry, and every guy like Ronnie Coleman is wearing it.
It's kind of surreal.
Yeah.
We talked. I had a little meeting last night with a gentleman from Van Bell, and we kind of talked, and it was like, I kind of explained the whole process, and I said, Jesus, man, it's been a killer process. And the people I've, you know, had the opportunity, the greatest people in the world. I mean, Michael Jordan, it's, you know, just Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, these people are amazing, and you just, I kind of take it for granted because I'm around them so much.
Sure.
But it's pretty exciting. It's pretty surreal. I kind of feel like I'm outside of my body when all this is going down.
And it's really a neat product that spans the whole globe of the industry, right?
Yes.
I mean, everybody lifts.
Yes, it's worldwide.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And Dr. Kramer, how important is equipment when you walk into the gym?
Well, I think we've always kind of, if you've been a lifter, I think I mentioned before, you kind of see who the experienced ones are that know what they're bringing into the gym. Sometimes you see people get all garbed up and then they put the 120 pounds on the bar and you go, they're all about the equipment, but they don't really know what they're doing. So I think it's a combination of knowing what you're doing in the weight room, understanding the equipment you need as a type of tool to help you train better. But again, as you mentioned, you don't want it to be a crutch, obviously.
Yes.
And I think the bottom line is that the right belt is part of the equipment ensemble that's really important. And I really have not known anybody myself in the world of weight training over the last 50 years that it doesn't have a belt for proper use. I mean, you know, some people train without a belt at certain times. You know, I know, for example, a lot of Olympic lifters may not use a belt for certain sets. But again, if it's not needed for what they need as a tool, you don't use it.
Yes.
But I think everybody has a belt, and I think it's part of the ensemble. Just as everything else is. So in shoes and equipment and the type of equipment you're using. And, you know, I just can't say this has been really interesting because this has been a core piece of what we've studied and what we've looked at and used over the many years.
So what's the price point on these things?
I have the old basic generic plain leather belt.
Yeah.
It's like $50.
Okay.
They go up as expensive as, you know, $300. It's a premium, but I like to give back. So on my Instagram, I give a lot of belts away. I do a lot of giveaways. Not necessarily, I mean, it's obviously great for advertising, publicity, but I just like to give back. People have been so good to me. A lot of people can't afford it, but I want some people that are interested and really, you can tell the people that really are passionate about trying something and not being able to afford it, that I can try to give them to.
So where can folks find out more information about the belts? I know you guys are huge on Instagram at Cardillo Weight Belts. Where else can they find information?
CardilloUSA.com.
Okay.
But the social media, Cardillo Weight Belts, is really where all of it's happening now, and it's an amazing, amazing tool for just life in general.
Yeah, Instagram has really become the platform of the industry.
Yes.
And obviously you guys jumped on that early and it's been good for the business?
Yes, amazing. It's just a way for everyone to communicate. You get to meet people. You know, I'm kind of personal with the people, so I like to interact with the people. You know, I'm not big that far big where I don't interact. If I can interact, I like to interact. I like to give people things. You can see, like I said, you can see people that are really interested in interact with your page. Those are the people that deserve something.
And not a better place to interact with folks than inside that Arnold Fitness Expo.
It's beautiful. It really is. It's an amazing thing. Arnold, you know, he's never missed one.
Yep.
That's telling you something through all the ups and downs.
30
and
years.
outs.
Yep.
He's always been here. He's, you know, very personal. Comes by. He's been by my booth like 4 times, and I'm just you know, I'm not one of the bigger displays. I'm just a 10 by 10, but it's.
But you've been here for a long time.
Yes, and he respects
that.
You've
been here from day one.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
He's amazing.
Well, Steve, thank you very much.
Yep.
We appreciate what you give to the industry.
Thank you.
Obviously, one of our biggest supporters, longtime supporters. We know you're going to be in the Expo every year.
Yes.
And this is a people industry.
Yes.
And when guys like you stand there and talk to the fans all day long,
yes.
It's a connection that makes our event what it is.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank
And it
you
was
very much.
really nice
Pleasure.
talking to you.
Nice talking to
you
you
had
too.
it all, every one of them. You were better than me.
So as on behalf of Dr. Bill Kramer and Steve Cardillo Weight Belts, thank you for joining us on this latest edition of the Arnold Sports Festival Power Podcast. Check us out online, arnoldsportsfestival.com, our YouTube channel, subscribe at Arnold Sports Festival. Thank you very much for joining us again, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.